Shh. Follow me into the dark. Hello creeps, Brains here, and I'm doing a paranormal story time today, or what I believe to be something paranormal. I have a few different thoughts about it than I ever did before, which I'm going to mention. This story used to be on my channel, but it was an old video. My editing wasn't very good, to be blunt. So I took it down, and now I want to retell it. It's Mr. Zombie is Hungry, one of my subscribers. It's one of his favorite scary stories that I've ever told, according to him. And I hope you enjoy it. The reason I'm not doing a face-to-face video, normally with my paranormal story times, I typically show my face. But today I've been working from home. I don't have makeup on, and I don't feel like getting dressed. And I got a new microphone. It's nothing super fancy, just something different. And I want to see how it works. So that's why I'm doing this. So this happened when I was around 15 or 16. I want to say I was 16 because I felt like I was driving when this happened, but I might have been 15, maybe with like a permit. Maybe I didn't actually have my license. Anyway, it starts out actually with a dream. The dream involved one of my friends who we were not getting along at the time, and it was over a guy of all things. I'm just gonna call her Anna. That's not her real name, that's just what I'm gonna call her. Because I'm okay with her now, but, you know. Anyway, so, as I said, this was about a fight over a guy. To make a long, dramatic teenage story short, we both liked the same guy, and I had actually liked him first. Everyone else was like, ooh, he's not that cute. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Anna's like, ooh, he's really cute. And he ended up asking her out because I wasn't available, but I still thought he was cute and thought, you know, well, I guess it wouldn't be bros before hoes, chicks before dicks, I guess, that she wouldn't date him because she knew that I kind of had a crush on him, and I'd had a crush on him since forever, like since I first saw him. I was like, I want to date him so bad. So they started going out, and I didn't talk to her for a long time until they broke up. Like, it made me so mad that she had like betrayed my trust in my teenage mind. So I had this dream one night. And in this dream, I had found, this is gonna sound so crazy. This is the dream, mind you, not real life, okay? In the dream, I'd found this big egg. Like the size of like an ostrich egg, maybe like a small dinosaur egg, you know what I mean? Like around the size of an ostrich egg. And I've always been like a lover of animals, even now. So I basically took the egg home and decided I was gonna mother it, not knowing what was in it. Well, it wasn't before too long in the dream. Like, I want to say the next day or within a week, it hatched. But it wasn't a chicken or a bird or any type of fowl or anything. It was the only way I know how to describe it that people can connect what I'm saying is it was basically a gargoyle. I guess you could say it was a demon, but to me, it looks more like a gargoyle. If I can find a picture online of an actual gargoyle, like a statue or stone one, I'll post it here somewhere so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Now, there's many different types of gargoyles, and I'm sure they have different reasons and meanings behind them, but this was one that kind of looked more bulldogish, I guess you could say, more canine. It didn't have like a big weird nose, it kind of had a smushed in face like a bulldog. When it was born, it wasn't too big. I would say if I had to compare it to something, it was probably like 10 to 15 pounds, like the size of a medium to large dog puppy, basically. But it started growing really fast. It went from being like 10 or 15 pounds to like 50 pounds within like a couple days. And then before I knew it, it was this big giant thing. And it was roughly when it was sitting down, like on all fours, like a dog would, it was almost as tall as I was sitting down, and it was always on all fours. I feel like if it wanted to, kind of like how bears do, it could have been bipedal, but it typically was on all fours like a dog. It had a tail. It didn't have like a pointed devil forked tail or anything like that. It just had kind of like a flat tail, like a Hellboy tail, because it didn't have fur. It was like just skin, almost like an elephant, but a little bit more rougher texture. So it's like if it looked like stone, but to touch it was kind of mildly soft or fleshy. He had horns. I call it a he, and I'll explain. I don't know, I just gave it that personalization, I guess. And it had like wings and big teeth that kind of stuck out the bottom. Like it had an underbite basically where its lower jaw kind of stuck up over its top. So there were teeth coming out. Did have completely black eyes, which does lead me to believe something demonic. But then on the other hand, I mean, sharks have black eyes. There's animals that have black eyes, deer and such, that aren't possessed animals. So you can take that for what you will. And its wings were huge. Its wings were probably, I don't know, at least 6 feet wingspan, maybe more than that. I don't know. In the dream, I wasn't really measuring things. But it was basically my pet. And I like raised it and I fed it, and it would sleep on the foot of my bed, like kind of over my legs, like a dog would. And one day in the dream, this is still the dream, mind you, Anna came over to my house to try to like talk to me. And as soon as I saw her, I was so furious. Well, then my gargoyle, quote unquote, comes out and she just starts like screaming and freaking out. And then it's like a part of my dream cut. It's like when you're editing a video and you trim out a part of it, and it jumped to this next scene where my gargoyle had her face like fully encompassed, like his wings were wrapped around her and everything. And he was eating her face, and he would like telepathically talk to me in the dream. And he kept saying, "I'm doing you a favor, I'm doing you a favor." And he just like kept saying that over and over and over. And I woke up and I was so freaked out, and my legs were asleep. And that freaked me out more because in the dream, this big thing would sleep on my legs, and I was so freaked out. And then unfortunately things got weirder. So the next day, I talked to another one of my friends, not Anna, but a different friend, and I told this to her, and she was into Wicca and knew a lot about spirituality and stuff like that, and she was, just kind of wise in my opinion. So I told her and I said, "What do you think this is?" And she's like, "Well, in Wicca." Now, this is what she told me at that time. I have read a little bit about it, so if I'm saying something incorrectly, please let me know. I don't have a problem with people who practice Wicca or whatever you practice. That's up to you. But this is what she told me. She said that in Wicca that, there are creatures out there like fairies and gnomes and trolls and stuff like that. And gargoyles are one of them. And they typically come to you to help you with negative feelings. Like, they basically take all that hate and anger out of you and try to absorb it so you can go about your life hopefully happy. And this is where my gargoyle's name came in, is I called him Hate, because from what my friend had told me, he basically came from me hating Anna so much. And it made sense. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds really crazy, but I trust you. And I said, I'm sure it's just a dream. I'm sure there's a logical explanation for why my legs were asleep, I mean, your body part, my feet fall asleep sometimes when I'm in the middle of walking. I guess I just have bad circulation. Anyway, so I didn't think anything about it. Well, then I told one of my guy friends about this whole situation, and he's like, dude, that's a really creepy dream. And I said, yeah, it really was. Well, later he told me, like the next day or a few days later, he's like, I think Hate came to my house. And I said, what are you talking about? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I just got this weird feeling I was being watched, and I kind of heard something walking around that kind of sounded like a dog, but a big dog, and he had like a little dog, or I honestly don't remember. Maybe he didn't have a dog at all. My point is, I'm saying the sound he heard was not any animal in his house, and it really freaked him out. And I said, okay, well, maybe it is. I'm sorry. And we kind of joked, and I was like, Hate needs to, tell him he needs to come back home or whatever. Well, there was one night, and I want to say at this time, me and Anna were kind of starting to get over our hatred, or my hatred rather, for her. And I was in my bedroom up late, as I normally was as a teenager. Still sometimes now. And I opened up my bedroom door, and in the house that we had at the time, it's like if you open my bedroom door, there were 2 bedrooms directly in front of you for my dad's ex-wife's boys, her kids. And then if you turned like barely immediately to your right was my bathroom. And on the left was the boys' bathroom. And as soon as I opened the door, the thing I saw in my dreams, which I'm gonna call Hate and what I always referred to him as, was sitting there. Like flesh and blood sitting there. And maybe it wasn't really sitting there. Maybe it was a projection of my mind. I was, I wasn't on drugs or anything. I wasn't drinking as a teenager. I did occasionally sneak out and drink, but at this time I was not. And I was used to staying up late. So I don't feel like I was so tired that I would hallucinate. And I've never been so tired that I've hallucinated, me personally. So, and he was just sitting there. And I could hear him breathing, and I could feel his breath blowing my hair out of my face. It was just unreal. And the only thing I could think to do, because I knew my dad, he had paranormal stuff happen, and he has had and probably still occasionally has experiences happen, but it's a pretty big thing to tell someone, hey, I saw a gargoyle in the hallway. So I thought, okay, I can't scream for my dad. So basically what I did is I just shut my door, locked it, and just immediately went to sleep. I'm like, well, we're just not gonna pee today. We're just gonna have to wait. And that was it. And after that, Hate never actually showed himself to me because he terrified me so much. And it's not that I felt he was going to hurt me or eat me. It was just seeing him was just unreal. I've never saw anything like it in my life, and I honestly hope I never do. But, so after that, more things started to happen. Shortly after this, my dad got divorced, and Hate was still with me then. It was probably 6 months to a year after. So he was with me for, I want to say, about 1.5 years, 2 years, give or take. And I would feel a weight get up on my bed, and I would feel weight on my feet, and it was crazy, and I didn't want to believe that it was real, but I didn't really know what else to think, so I didn't really ignore it, but I didn't really dwell on it a lot either. And in our new house, after my dad got divorced and we went to a new place, in the kitchen, if I had a boyfriend over, all you would hear is pacing in the kitchen, which we had linoleum in there. And it sounded like a big dog. And actually, one of the guys I was with, he got up and walked and looked in the kitchen and came back and had this weird look on his face. And I was like, what's the matter? And he's like, do you have a dog? And at the time, no, we didn't have an indoor dog. We had an outdoor one. And I said, no. And he's like, I keep hearing nails clicking on the floor and it's freaking me out. And I'm like, oh, it's just Hate, ha ha ha. And I kind of explained it to him, and he was like, you're crazy. Well, then after that, the water came on. And it was one of the faucets that has a little handle that you lift up to turn on and push it down to turn it off. And one side you turned it to the right for hot and left cold, or vice versa. So it wasn't really one that that it would just come on, and it came on full force. And I was like, okay, I guess he's trying to let you know he's not a joke and he doesn't like you laughing at him. I don't know if it was that same night or a later night, but I wear glasses, and I've always wore glasses since 3rd grade, had contacts for a while, but I wore glasses at the time. And I had my glasses off, obviously, because we were going to sleep, and I heard this weird, almost like when cats, scratch on furniture, but if they were, scratching on the carpet or on a scratching post, their, claws sticking into the carpet and, ripping it. That's what I heard. We did not have cats or dogs in the house because my dad at the time was against it and thought animals should be outside. He's not like that now, but he was. And he's like, are you sure an animal isn't in here? And I'm like, no. And he set up and looked in front of my bed, which is where it was. I had a pretty big bedroom in that house. And he laid back down, and all I said was, he's like, I'm glad you can't see anything, when you don't have glasses on. And I was like, well, what is it? And he didn't want to tell me because he didn't want to scare me, but I'm pretty sure it was hate. When men were around, which probably, hearts get broken when you're a teenager. I think that's why he affiliated boys or men, whatever, guys, with such negativity. And when they were around, the activity would really stir up with him. Another time, and I don't know if this was hate or if this was something else, but I was dating a different guy, and it was around Christmas, so we had the Christmas tree up and everything. My dad wasn't home. Me and him are, like, on the computer, I think. It was, like, when internet first became a huge thing, and we still had dial-up, because I lived in the middle of nowhere, and we were probably, I don't know, downloading music or something. And all of a sudden, it's like you heard something run from the kitchen area, and it's like it ran past us. The tree like rattled and knocked some stuff off, and some presents got knocked over because my dad already had presents and everything underneath of it. It's basically like if a dog came barreling through, ran into the Christmas tree, and knocked it over. And I just screamed, and the guy I was with, like, picked me up, and we went to the bedroom, and we locked the door, and I think we waited a couple hours before we came out. We might have even crawled out of my window and not came back to the house. I can't remember. I want to say we left and went to his house, because I was, like, crying, because at the time I didn't know what it was, and that was really scary. Hate was with me for a while. Like I said, men was the time he was the most active, which is kind of funny because I was mad at Anna over a guy, so that would only make sense. And yeah, that's basically my experience with a gargoyle, which, now that I think about it and I know what I know, I have a couple different options. One, it could be totally demonic. It could have been something taking the form of something and trying to isolate me from other people, and as opposed to protecting me as I saw it at the time. It could be a legitimate gargoyle. I mean, I've found a few experiences involving them, but I haven't heard a lot. So if you know someone or heard one, or you found one on Reddit, please send it to me because I'd love to read it if it seems legitimate. And my third option, which is something, I mean, at the time when I was a teenager, I didn't know what a tulpa was, and recently I've kind of been reading up on it and listening to a lot of podcasts and videos and stuff about it, and as crazy as it sounds, maybe it was a tulpa. So maybe it was something my mind created, and I was so mad and put so much energy into hating Anna and having that dream that it really materialized. I don't know. I know it was definitely one of the scariest things that ever happened to me on one hand, but then at the same time, it was almost comforting. Like when I would feel that pressure get on the bed and lay at the foot of the bed like a dog, I was relieved. I wasn't scared after the first time I saw him. The Christmas tree thing happened. That scared me, but I really truly don't know if that was hate. I don't feel like it was. But I don't know. I think that was something bad because I was messing with stuff I probably shouldn't have been messing with and doing things I shouldn't have been doing. But that was really scary. So yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this weird, creepy tale. And if you don't believe me, that's totally fine. I totally understand. If it hadn't happened to me, I probably wouldn't believe it either. But I hope you enjoyed it and maybe just take it away as a creepy story if you don't believe in stuff like that. So, that's it for now. I love you guys. And as always, creeps, stay very spooky. Bye, guys!